graphic depiction with the color coding and stuff, but that's new, that nobody can dispute that. You're not a surveyor, but still, that's our.
You don't need arithmetic.
Everybody else, right? Yeah. You can subtract 100 from whatever it is.
Right.
Down the street.
Oh, yeah, Sterling Kelly. He still has his handlebar.
Yes, he does.
He looks very distinguished. He's very good at what he does.
Is that your art? Yeah.
Carpenter, Jeffrey Zimmerman.
Do you have a gallery in your house? Yeah.
Had him doing a lot of the windows and things like that. New windows that he had put in, especially around the kitchen and other areas that he got there. He replaced a lot of the windows.
Sterling did some of the work on the windows. Some of the new windows.
Yeah, I think he also
Replaced
some of the shingles around the siding.
Oh, yeah.
Well, especially because he had to do them around the windows.
On the back.
It's pretty good. It knows a lot about this stuff.
Yes, he was telling us that big parsonage was his great aunt.
That's Fred's.
Oh, yeah.
Subdivided.
Wow.
And he put it in on Wednesday. I don't know, he won't be here tonight, but
More.
Not anymore. No,
They did it one time.
yeah, his great aunt. His great aunt.
I think he said, he lived in there for a while.
Yeah. No, that's gone through, I think, 2 owners. He couldn't do it, so, and then he people.
Yeah, I have no
Yep. No, you've been dealing with this long enough.
Hey, Charlie. Hi.
Then I start getting a whole bunch of emails.
Yeah, okay.
So one went to UMass.
Okay, just wasn't sure. Just want to be sure. All right. Okay. I wasn't sure. Now I know.
Good evening. Welcome to the May 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. Just for a little bit of information, this is a hybrid meeting, and that means people certainly can come into town hall, which I see we have plenty of people, which is great, or by Zoom. And if you need instructions, you can go to the website of how to get on and join the meeting. So let's start with the attendance. Mary, are you present?
Present.
Deborah?
Present.
Eric?
Present.
Charlie? Okay, good. First item is public comment. And even though the manual doesn't say it this way, what I prefer to do is if there's anyone who wants to come forward on an item that's not on the agenda, it'd be time to do it right now. Anyone who's watching or who's present, if any comments about items that are not on the agenda. Anyone? No one calling in? Okay. Moving along. Second item, and this is a hearing, 414 Route 6A in Yarmouthport, and for a vote. And this is a request for horse stable permit. And this was continued from the April 4th meeting. And I think certainly there was another meeting where this issue was addressed. So, Bruce, any comments? Anything update where we are?
The only update we have is we have some notices from abutters that are included in the packet, and I threw the abutters are here. And I have had a call from the owner of the property, left a message. I haven't been able to talk to him today, but I know there's a for sale sign now on front of the property also.
Okay, anyone from the public like to come forward? And just introduce yourself for the records, that's all I ask.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm Attorney David Reed, representing Mr. and Mrs. Grady, who live directly across the street. It's a bit confusing that the applicants aren't here this evening. We do understand, have seen the for sale sign, and it appears that they've decided to sell the house and move on. That's unfortunate for them as well. But it causes us an additional concern that the horses are still there, the stable is still there. When they initially listed the property with a realtor, the listings mentioned the property being suited for horses and stables and the trotting area. We're concerned that if this is denied tonight, as I think it needs to be because they haven't complied with the bylaw and they haven't presented any information for you, that leaves the property in a bit of a void, and that we might be back here a few months later with now an innocent buyer who bought the house and said, well, there was already a stable there when I bought my home. Why can't I have my horses? I think you do need to deny this tonight. I suppose without prejudice, in a sense that the applicant simply hasn't gone forward. But I would request that you also take some steps to enforce the regulations right now, so that we don't have a situation where an innocent purchaser comes forward after buying this house and finding out that they can't have the stable that's there and the barn that's there and the horses that are there. I think that's necessary as a precautionary matter to avoid that just kicking this can down the road to the very near future when somebody else comes along. Particularly in the real estate market we all are aware of right now, where people are buying houses rampantly, and sometimes without even conducting thorough inspections and due diligence as we might normally have. So we would ask you to do that. Again, assuming you deny this tonight, that Mr. Murphy again go one step further and take an effort to enforce the regulations as they stand today, so that the horses and the stable are not there when another prospective buyer comes along and thinks that they can keep them. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Someone else? Please step up.
Good evening, members of the Board of Health. I'm Judith Recknagel, and I live at 408 Route 6A. I did submit a letter, which I believe is in your packet, and I put a little drawing on the bottom of my letter, and it shows, I believe this is from the assessor's map. It shows the property at 414, and it shows my property is 408, and on the other side of 414 is 418. And you can see that the frontage of 414 is at 109 feet. It's only 109 feet. And the stable regulations require setbacks of 50 feet from all property lines. And at the present time, without any permit, and for the past 2 years, the applicants at 414 simply went and put up a fence wherever they wanted. It is not 50 feet away. There's one fence that's about 15 feet away from me, and another is 20 feet. I would also like to point out the property at 418. There's a home there, which is not shown on this little map here. The barn is something like 30 feet away from that home. All parts of the barn itself are not 100 feet from a home, and nor are they 50 feet from a property line, which is stated in the stable regulations. We have come before you now. This is the third time. We really do feel that these stable regulations are in place to be fair to the whole neighborhood. That's why there are stable regulations. And we're asking you to be fair to the abutters. And we are asking that a date be given for an enforcement action for the removal of these horses, which have been there for the last 2 years in violation of all the regulations and not following the stable permit. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Anyone else?
I'm John Grady. I live at 415 6A across the street. And you have a letter from me and also some exhibits. The letter is kind of self-explanatory, so I won't bore you by reading it at you. But I will offer to answer any questions you may have on the exhibits that I provided. It shows setbacks, and we don't know where the applicant has built his fencing because we can't go on the property. But we do know where the setbacks are, and we've overlaid them on the survey of record from the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. And this is the survey which is referred to in the applicant's deed. And it shows that a lot of 1.3 acres in 2 chunks. It's over here. The front section is 109 feet wide with 50-foot setbacks on either side. That leaves 9 feet where you could have your horses, your stable and your corral. It won't fit. It's arithmetic. The rear section is 200 across and 165 or so in depth, and 50 feet are taken off that, reduces the available acreage you can use there to around 6,000 square feet. So all acres are not created equally. And unfortunately, although it's 1.3 acres, it doesn't allow the usage area for horses that you would get in a rectangular 1.3 acre lot. Any questions I can answer on the material I provided?
Board members?
No, thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Anyone else? Please just step up and let us know who you are.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Pickman, and my husband is Fred Shilp, and we live at 15 Elmcroft Way. We are abutters. This letter was created by my husband, Fred, who's not able to be here tonight, but here is what we would like to read tonight. At the last April 4th hearing, Ms. Garbett made a significant comment to defend her family's position when she stood up and said, we bought this property, we pay our property taxes, and therefore we are entitled to do whatever we want to our property. We all know that this is actually not the case. Indeed, there are many significant layers of regulations and restrictions on owners. The state of Massachusetts has hundreds of pages of laws concerning the use, restrictions, and rights of the homeowners and all owners of private property. In fact, for example, in this case, the laws regarding management of horses, manure, and waste is one of those. And for example, many of the state environmental protection laws are enforced locally by our town's conservation commissions. Here in Yarmouth, we are guided also by Barnstable County, many laws and regulations pertaining to private lots and homes, many made and enforced by the county's Cape Cod Commission. Barnstable County also has regulations and restrictions pertaining to wastewater, drinking water, our wells and septics, and much more. Also, Old Kings Highway Commission has regulations concerning all properties on Route 6A from Sandwich to Orleans, and actually extends north of 6A in many areas. And the town of Yarmouth and all of Cape Cod's 15 towns have restriction regulations to zoning, building sites, materials, heights and boundaries, safeties. In departments like this one, the Yarmouth Board of Health also has regulations related to the use of private and public property. All of these government boards were formed by community residents at large. Over the years, to protect the rights, the health, the safety, and the people of all of these communities. The idea is to protect the owners and their neighbors and contribute to the benefits and general happiness of the community. No one is above those laws. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think there was one other person who had the hand up. Yep. Thank you for coming in.
Board members, Mr. Murphy, my name is Lisa Grady. I live at 415 Route 6A. I think it's time for some straight talks, a reminder of why we're all here. We're here today because of the actions of the owners of 414 Route 6A and the inaction of the town. There's something wrong with the priorities here. Allowing this unpermitted infraction to exist for 2 years has set an example to the next person who decides, as this owner made clear, this is our property and we can do what we want. And while there's a part of that statement we would all like to believe, in a village on small lots, what each of us does or does not do affects the rights of abutting properties. Anyone looking at the maps provided to you this evening knows that this property does not and never will meet the setback requirements of the town's bylaws. This is the bottom line. And yet it is now being offered for sale as suitable for horses, with the implied use being a photo of the barn showing the horses, the fencing, and with the continued presence of these horses. Without a clear determination from the board, our stress is that we will be before you again with a new owner, and we have had enough. Our town bylaws exist for the public health of all of us, and they exist to prevent situations like this from happening. We are here seeking satisfactory relief and action by our Board of Health. It is well past the time to act, and this should not be allowed to go on one day longer. We are asking that the horses be removed and the permit be denied immediately. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming in. Anyone else? Okay. Is anyone here from 414 Route 6A? Are they calling in? Anyone? Okay. So I guess board members, we have an application. We need to decide about that. And then there's the second issue would be the presence of the horses. So it's time for some discussion.
Well, I made the motion last week or the last meeting that we would deny the application if the application was not submitted completely by this meeting, and that didn't happen. So I think that the motion which I made, which was upheld, should stand. The application is denied because it was not even complete. And it was not complete after almost 2 years. Do I need to make a motion specifically saying that? I thought that my motion last week accomplished that.
Mary,
Probably-
I think you should make it, and I also would like to add that the horses be removed immediately.
I make a motion that the application for,
1 second.
yes,
Any other board members want to speak at this point?
I just would like to understand. I think there's a few different issues at play here. I mean, if we call for the animals to be removed immediately, who does that responsibility fall upon with the town? Is that on the health department, or who is kind of enforcing this?
Director Murphy, want to take this one?
The, the steps that would proceed from the meeting with, should the board order the horses removed, would be obviously a letter from tonight's meeting to the owner certified that the horses would have to be removed on a particular date. Should that not happen, then the next step would be proceeding to check with town council to proceed with court action.
Okay.
So it would take some time before the horses were actually or property owner served for that, and possible a court hearing scheduled.
So it sounds like whoever's going to make the motion, there needs to be a date attached to it, probably.
I have a question.
Yeah, great. What's up?
It says the application wasn't complete. The one in front of me looked pretty good. It was done by surveyors, wasn't it?
No, they
No.
did not send it. They did not submit a plan with a land surveyor stamp on it showing the distances to the property line and neighbors' houses. There was an old plan submitted that didn't have any measurements on it.
You sweet, sir?
those were not submitted by the applicants. That was submitted by one of the abutters. All of those materials.
Correct.
It has all the measurements on it, correct?
It has measurements of the property line, but no measurements to the fence and barn area, which was requested.
So Bruce, it sounds like regardless of what date we put on, even if we put immediately, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Correct. It does start the process.
Right. So I think immediately is, as opposed to add, I think this has gone on long enough, and I think it needs to happen like yesterday.
Okay, anyone else? Anything else? If not, Mary, I appreciate if you made the motion. Okay, thank you.
I move that we deny the permit for keeping horses at 414 Route 6A because the application was not submitted completely as was requested. And the application should have been submitted before the horses were even brought to the property. And it's been 2 years. I also move that we order that the horses be removed from the property by May 5th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Just 1 second while we record that, please.
Take your time.
Got it. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. So we'll just go around the board and are you in favor of the motion? Mary,
Yes, aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Charlie?
Nay.
Am I? So that's 4-1. The motion passes.
I think that should give Bruce time enough to get the letter made out and delivered, and maybe even give town council a heads up that this might be something we are going to be asking for help with, and that we would like it to be done expediently as possible.
I had a question too. I think that the folks mentioned that the property is for sale. It's being sold as being suitable for horses. I'm not sure there's anything that we can do to change, to amend that listing. I don't know if we have any purview on that. It's
Can
more
we
of a
just, can we
Uh,
contact the Realtor and just say, you just need to know that tonight at the Board of Health meeting, the permit for keeping horses was denied. And it is not likely that any future permit would be valid because of the property, the size of the lot and the way the property is
Right.
built on.
Yeah, that's a courtesy call if you're okay
Right.
with it. to the
That's
realtor.
fine.
Yes. But everyone needs to keep in mind, residents can apply for licenses, okay? So that's true for all of us. It doesn't mean it'll be accepted, but everyone's entitled to do that. So let's move on, okay? Item number 3 on the agenda. Perhaps some people want to leave. Why don't we take a moment?
They should leave. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Okay, next item is a hearing, and its location is 31 Grist Mill Lane in West Yarmouth, and we need to vote on a new septic plan. And just to let you know, we have 2 houses we're gonna be looking at in septic systems, and they're a little bit more complicated than some of the ones we've seen in the past. Unfortunately, I don't think the people presenting are going to be here. So all I ask is board members ask questions, okay? It's difficult, even if the presenters were here.
We'll have to see, Eric, or is there somebody waiting to, yes, Stephanie Sequin is the engineer of record of the plan that you have before you tonight.
Okay, Director Murphy, any comments before we start this?
Okay, I just want to make sure, Stephanie, can you hear us okay?
Hi. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Very good. I will provide a little background to the
Great.
board first, then you can come in, Stephanie, and talk about the project. Is there anybody else waiting to come in at all? Okay. What you have before you tonight, board, is a property here at 31 Grist Mill. They're wishing to demolish the house, raise and replace, and build a new house, 2 floors in the same location, same footprint area. It is currently a 3-bedroom dwelling, and it will remain a 3-bedroom dwelling. There is a wetlands across the street, Mill Creek, an active water body on the other side of the street. And then you can see on the south side, there is an active salt marsh. That salt marsh is the area where the septic system will be 76 feet from that distance. What we have, the variance requested is The septic system is in the back corner, far away from wetlands in the water body as possible. They've requested a couple variances. One is to have the septic system not installed to the full 330 gallons that it needs to be required, but to put a smaller system in at 219 gallons, which is a 33% reduction. There also will not have a reserve area. And we've looked at that in the past, that if they ever have to reserve, they would take it out and put it in the same area. And they can only be 76 from the edge of the salt marsh instead of 100. They are proposing to put in a alternative septic system, fast system for additional nitrogen loading, even though it's not required. They felt that they wanted to put that in on their behalf. The property and application has been to conservation and has been approved by the Conservation Commission. We did go back out there and I observed a further test hole to check where groundwater is on April 14th because it's tidally influenced. It doesn't really change from when you look at high tide an hour after high tide from when we did a test back in 2003. So that was one other variance that they had mentioned in their letter, but was not required because you don't need to do an groundwater adjustment if you're close to a tidal water body. There will be a slight wall in back because it is above grade, but it will only be above grade, I think, about a foot. And it is a true 3-bedroom house. You do have the floor plans in your file. The existing house was 3 bedrooms, as noted on the assessor sheet that you have. And the floor plans show a true 3 bedrooms also. That's the general background, and I'll leave it for the engineer to further go into more details, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so the engineer, just introduce yourself and let's go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name's Stephanie Sequin. I'm an engineer with Ryder and Wilcox. I'm representing John Patrick Python and Julia Lohman, who are the owners of the property at 31 Gristmill Lane. Bruce pretty much summarized everything, but I'm happy to go into a little bit more about the history of the property. It's 9,500 square foot lot. Mill Creek is located across on the other side of the paved road. It is a tidal water body, and the abutting salt marsh comes across the road and onto this property. The entire property is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. The 100-year flood elevation here is elevation 11. We are showing the 100-foot buffer to the salt marsh, and it covers all but the very northwesterly corner of the property. So for all intents and purposes, it's entirely within the buffer zone to the salt marsh. The existing building is 1-story with a full basement and a drive-under garage. It is 3 bedrooms. Originally, it was built in 1963. In 2004, the original cesspool was upgraded with a Title V system. It consists of a 1,500-gallon tank, a pump chamber, and a mounded leaching field. And at the time it was upgraded, there were several variances that were granted under local upgrade approval. Most significantly, I think, the existing system was installed with a 1-foot reduction to the vertical separation to groundwater. It's 4 feet above the groundwater instead of 5. The existing leaching field provides 75% of the required leaching capacity, so there was a 25% reduction granted. And the existing leaching field is 75 feet to the salt marsh, where your regulations require 100 feet. So there was a 25-foot variance granted there. And then also variances from the proposed components to the lot lines and to the foundation were also granted. What's being proposed is to completely remove the existing structure right down to the foundation and construct a new 2-story home, still with 3 bedrooms. The first floor will have to be elevated above the flood zone to be in compliance with FEMA requirements. There will be no cellar beneath the building. They're just like a 4-foot high crawl space. And the mechanical equipment, again, per FEMA requirements, will be located on the 1st and 2nd floors up above the flood elevation. The existing sewage disposal system will be completely removed and replaced with a totally new system, a new 1,500 gallon tank with a microfast unit that provides secondary treatment to the effluent. A pump chamber will provide pressure distribution to the soil absorption system, and the soil absorption system will be elevated to provide the just over the 5.1 foot vertical separation to groundwater. We have positioned the soil absorption system as far away from the salt marsh as possible without encroaching on the 10-foot setback from the abutters. There are 2 abutters here. So we held that 10-foot minimum from their lot line so we could maximize the separation to the salt marsh. And in this location, the proposed soil absorption system is 76 feet from the salt marsh. So the variances that we have requested are one, to allow the a leaching capacity provided of 219 gallons per day, where 330 gallons per day is required. So a 33.6% reduction. I would like to point out the fact that DEP's remedial use approval of IA technology with pressure distribution allows up to a 50% reduction in the required soil absorption system capacity. So I'm not even sure if the variance is required because it is allowed under DEP's approval, but I thought better to put that out there just in case you do consider that a variance. We do not have a reserve area. If the existing system fails, it will be replaced in the same location. And the soil absorption system is 76 feet from the salt marsh, where your regulations require 100 feet. So a 24-foot variance is requested. So just to summarize, it is an increase in habitable space. There is no increase in the number of bedrooms and therefore no increase in flow. And I think the replacement of the existing septic system with this new septic system, which includes the microfast for that provides a secondary treatment, is an improvement over the existing system that's in the ground. We're providing secondary treatment. We're providing the 5-foot vertical separation to groundwater. We're eliminating the lot line variances, and it's essentially the existing leaching field is 75 feet from the wetland. This new leaching field is 76 feet from the wetlands. So we're not really we're actually making things a little bit better there. So I think that's it, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. And I don't know if this is for you, Ms. Sequin, but it's probably for Bruce. And I know the abutters have been notified. Have we heard from any of them?
We did hear from one abutter to the rear of property line, probably the closest one affected. We did meet with them in the office here. Their main concern was just going over the plan. We showed them the plan. Matter of fact, we gave them a copy of the plan and showed them where the system was going to be located, which was 10 feet off the property line, which is the state requirement. So we did show them that. We have not heard from any other abutters. The other property abutter to the south is a relative.
Okay.
Who we did meet on site. Then obviously they said they were fine with the application.
Okay. And then I guess my other question was where, what's the existing system that's there now and how long ago was it put in?
Stephanie?
It was installed in 2004 or somewhere in I believe 2004. It was inspected in 2016. I think as in preparation for the real estate transfer to the current owners, and it was found in good condition in 2016. It is a leaching field that I think they used shallow infiltrators to get the footprint of the leaching field that they needed.
Awesome. And then I guess my last question is there a reserve area provided now and why can't we provide one for this system?
I'll go there. Usually the reserve areas if a system needs to go in the future. Or
if it fails, right?
Pardon?
Or if it fails, right?
Or if it fails. But what happens in majority cases, even with reserve areas, they take out the existing system in that location. They would dig out all the contaminated soil and put it in the same location. We see that with current properties that are going through repairs. There might be trees and vegetation and or sheds or something in a reserve area now. So they'll remove the area of the existing system and then put the new system in that area. So that's not uncommon.
Okay, those were my questions. Thank you.
Did you want to add anything to that, Stephanie?
No, just, I mean, we could show a reserve area, but that would just trigger more variances.
So were there previous variances granted that are automatically applying here? Because I see we have 3 variances on the application.
The septic system that was repaired in 2004 was just a repair, wasn't for new construction. So when we look at repairs, we're a little bit, let's say a little bit more flexible when we're looking at repairs, that we don't necessarily put a pump and a mounted system in if we don't have to. It would be just the same, pretty much the same variances. It's almost in the same area. It's as farthest away from wetlands as possible and distance off the house and property line. So when it's a repair and the system can be at least 70 feet from wetlands, the board has allowed the health department to look at those variances for repairs only. But where the house is being demolished and a new house is coming in, even though those grants were similarly granted in the past, we wanted to bring it to the board for the board's review based on looking at new construction. So they're not grandfathered in to those repairs. I think that's 2 separate issues, but yes, they were similar variances granted in the past. But this one will be higher above groundwater, where the other one was 4 feet. This will be 5 feet, plus they're putting in additional treatment.
Right. So any other discussion, board members?
I just have a question on the design. Underneath dosing calculations, it says design data. Can you just kind of walk us through that? And specifically, you might have already touched on this. I apologize if you did. It refers to a 33.6% reduction. Can you just kind of summarize this design data again?
Sure. So for 3 bedrooms at 110 gallons per day, Title V requires 330 gallons per day design flow. We're providing 219 gallons per day. So the difference between 330 and 219 is 141 gallons per day. So we're 141 gallons per day shy of the 330 that's required. So 141 divided by 330 is the 33.6 reduction.
Okay. And how was that reduction achieved? I guess I'm wondering.
We are proposing a smaller footprint. If we added a chamber, we would get closer to the 330 gallons per day that's required, but we would also get closer to either the foundation or the salt marsh or the property line. So in order to eliminate, there's no way we can eliminate the variance to the salt marsh. It's not possible on this lot to have a system that meets the 100-foot setback to the salt marsh. But to provide the required setbacks for everything else, for the 10-foot minimum setback to the lot line and the 10-foot minimum setback to the the slab and the 20-foot setback to the crawl space, we're proposing a smaller leaching system than what is required. But we're also providing the secondary treatment. And because the secondary treatment produces a cleaner effluent, DEP allows a reduced leaching system theoretically, or maybe it's been proven, I don't know, but because you have a cleaner effluent, you can have a smaller leaching system than would be required if you didn't have the secondary treatment.
And this is because, I'm sorry, and this is because the footprint is smaller, but we're going higher. Right? Because now it's not a ranch anymore, it's 2 floors. No?
I'm not following.
So one of the reasons why I'm assuming one of the reasons why the estimated daily effluent has to be less is because even though the footprint is smaller, it's a bigger house.
The reason my proposed footprint is smaller than the one that was approved in 2004 is because that it's hard to see, but I do have on the plan the outline of the existing leaching field, and it is 3 or 4 feet from the property line to the north, and less than, I think, probably 14 feet from the existing foundation. So they were granted more variances to allow them to use more space to get the size of the leaching field that they needed. And they still only provided 75% of the required leaching capacity. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the footprint or the floor plan of the 2 buildings. It has more to do with the variances that were granted back in 2004, gave them more room to put in a bigger leaching field.
Thank you.
Deborah, does that help?
It does. I'm looking at the plan now, so I understand what she's saying.
Anyone else? Okay, perhaps someone would make a motion at this point then.
I move we grant well, there's 2 variants. So is it just the 1 variance that we have, the town of Yarmouth regulation variance? It's both, yeah?
Both.
Okay,
Both.
I move we approve the application for both variances as written let's start over. I move that we approve the application for the variance of as written. I don't think I need to read it. At 8 Thistle Lane. Oh no, that's the gentleman's address. 31 Gristmill Lane, West Yarmouth.
Second.
Any other discussion about it? Okay, let's take a vote. Charlie?
Aye.
Okay, Mary?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Am I? So that passes. Okay.
One question though, when would the construction start? The variances in general are good for 90 days. Is this a fall project or we just need a time frame?
They have to go to the zoning board of appeals. And that hearing is scheduled for the end of this month. I can't imagine that they would be starting before the fall. I think they're waiting to do final construction drawings until they know they have all these approvals. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't realize that it was only good for 90 days. What has to be done within that 90 days? Just submitting a permit application or?
Construction would have to start, correct? It's more than just a permit application because we want to make sure the system's going in, but that would be up to the board. I mean, is it something that is going to be put in this fall or by next spring?
I don't know the answer to that. I would think they would be starting the house construction sometime this fall. So is that what has to start to?
System to be installed by July 1st, 2023?
23. Yeah.
So maybe someone just amend and just make a motion and we can amend it with a date. Okay, somebody?
Wait, what was the date? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
July
So I amend my motion to say that it needs to be installed by July 1st, 2023.
Great, thank you. The second?
The same second, okay.
Okay, let's vote. Mary?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Charlie? Aye as well. Okay, we're done with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, third item, fourth item, here we go. Another hearing, 22 Willow Lane, it's located in South Yarmouth. This is going to require a vote on a septic system repair. Just as a reminder, board members, you have questions, just ask, okay? So we all understand what we're looking at. So looks like we have a few people in front of us. That's great. Just introduce yourselves for the record. Appreciate it.
Yep, you can.
Sure. Good evening. For the record, my name is Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport. With me is Jack or John Arena, who is the proud owner of this residence. And we're looking to do what I characterize as a modest addition. This comes before you as a house he's owned for coming on 30 years now. It's always been a 3-bedroom to him. It's there's a sleeping loft style bedroom upstairs that he'd like to put a dormer on and enlarge that room. The lot itself is fairly old. It predates most rules and regulations. 1953 plan you can see here with a vacant lot. The assessors somehow had the house built a few years before that. So I think that, well, sometimes the assessors aren't perfect in their regulations, but they had the house as 47, but there you can see it's a vacant lot in 53. And what we're looking to do here, and there was not a wetland located on the lot, but our firm has been around a long time. We've done a bunch of work in the area, and there is a little isolated vegetated wetland on the south side of this. We've done some work for the Churchills who show up on they've owned longtime property owners to the south here, that family. And when we surveyed that, there's a couple of nice vacant lots there. Up in the back, we did locate in 2008 an isolated vegetated wetland in that area. That's an important distinction between a bordering vegetated wetland and an isolated. Bruce, I didn't mean to cut in. Is that okay just to go on and then? You
Oh,
can
you're
make
doing
comments
good.
after? Okay.
You're on a roll. Keep
There we
right
go.
on going.
I forgot
I'll
Bruce-
jump in a little bit later. We had
There we go.
talked about this before, the board members, that regarding tonight meetings, we wanted to talk about the wetland area. So,
So on Bruce's prompting, I did look into it a little bit, and I was pleased to find that back in the early 2000s, we had investigated that for Fred Churchill and his family. And we found at that time that it was just a little isolated vegetated wetland. The reason that that's important is because a bordering vegetated wetland, which the rules and regulations in Title V are more stringent about, they're critical. One of their critical characteristics, speak, Dan, speak. One of their critical characteristics is that they have to border on a creek, river, stream, pond, or lake. And so while they would often be something that looks like this, like a shallow, little swampy bog, they have to be on that critical larger component like a pond or a lake. And this is just a little mud puddle back there. One of the interesting characteristics about this site is it's kind of on a peninsula of land that runs between Bass River and a small creek system to the west. And so I was just looking at on the map, and one of the reasons that's important is because the groundwater doesn't go up and down very much, but this creek system, which runs west of South Street there, it backs up to a bunch of houses. And then eventually there's a discharge pipe that goes out somewhat to the west of Bass River. And then even closer on the right here is Bass River. I would say it's, between 400 or 500 feet east of our property. And so when the groundwater tries to mound up, it falls off towards the ocean. So it never gets to rise too much in this area. And that speaks to the fact that the groundwater down there is about elevation 3. If you had a ground elevation of 3 up in the middle of the Cape, you'd be in a deep lake. But down here, because it's the outwash plain, which is good sandy soils, and there's low points on either side, that groundwater mound, the lens that, is our big aquifer on the Cape, is very shallow above the groundwater table. And so it only gets up to about elevation 3. And I think it probably dries right up in the summer. Like even this time of year, it's pretty much dry in there.
when you're right there, Dan, you can just see on the plan that we just called up there that you submitted that it's houses all the way around it?
Yeah. And so there's homes all the way around. It doesn't show up on any DP mapping or anything as a wetland. It's what we would consider an isolated vegetated wetland. Bass River, by the way, is just to the lower right, and it comes up a little closer to Locust to the north of there. So you can see that if the groundwater was to surcharge, it would relieve itself to the gradient to the ground. Water generally will run towards salt water because, at low tide and mean sea level, you'd usually only expect it to be maybe a foot above mean high water. And here we're just a little bit above that. So that's what we'd expect. And it also speaks to one of the variances, as was mentioned on an earlier case tonight. If you're within 300 feet, we just look at the groundwater level and we'll check it over a lunar cycle. And the highest level is generally what we'd do here. When they do the groundwater mapping over the Cape, they have to generalize things, and the lowest zone that they even have is called an A zone. So whenever an A zone gets quite close to a saltwater body, it's generally fairly conservative. So one of the variances that we are requesting is to reduce that adjustment down below the full 2 foot down to about a foot. And we think that's a very accurate representation. It checks out with about where the wetland line would be around that little isolated vegetated wetland. And it's also very similar to where we had found it for the Churchills back in 08. So that's kind of the background here, is that we're not particularly close to any sort of an open water body or sensitive resource area. It's what we'd call an isolated vegetated wetland to the south. The house is perched as far from that as it can be, right up against the street. We're not increasing the footprint any, just going up on the second level for a dormer on one side. We're doing many things to make the situation in our approximation better than what's there now, starting with moving the leaching to the far corner of the lot. Right now, there's no records at all in the town on this, unfortunately, and also unfortunately, and speaking with the sometime inaccuracies of the assessor's records, it does say that there's 2 bedrooms only when there's clearly a sleeping loft, but assessors aren't always perfect with that. and would appreciate the board's indulgence on considering that long-term area that he's used for going on 30 years as a bedroom to remain a bedroom. And his goal is just to retire here, you know, in a few years and so forth. But just to give himself a little bit more elbow room. Doesn't mean that there's going to be more people in the house. And but what we would also say is that we're going to improve things by lifting up the system above where it is now. Right now, the ground over the system is about 9. We're going to be bringing that up a little bit higher, and more importantly, pressure dosing and raising the system up. When you look at, you know, potential groundwater contamination, one of the things that you concern yourself with is the bottom of a cesspool being close to the groundwater. So you lift it up as high as possible. Then pressure dosing also, instead of just dumping out of a D box into a few little point sources, it spreads the load out over the entire gradient of the leaching field. And that, creates a nice even biomat and distributes the effluent, so you don't get any piping effects that could potentially bring pathogens down like a water column and into the groundwater where they might persist. It's what Title V really does prefer us to do. And so when you can, and we often do, and Jack was pleased to offer to do a pressure dosed leaching field. So that's about as far as we can be from the little isolated vegetated wetland. It's 55 feet away. We're looking at what we would consider a 3-bedroom dwelling. And so with the board's concurrence, we'd like to just do this under maximum feasible compliance, where you do the best you can with what you have. Obviously, it's an older home that needs to be upgraded sooner or later, but would like that to be sooner. So we're looking at SAS to lot line 10 to 7.8. This is under Title V. Septic tank to lot line from 10 feet to 6.5. We're going to be a little bit closer to the foundation to 7.3. I believe that's just a tank, not the leaching. The reduction in groundwater separation. So you could look at that 2 ways, 5 feet to 4 foot, or we'd get the full 5 feet and just do a reduction to the groundwater adjustment. So I think that would probably be the more proper way. If you look at the profile, we're doing the full 5 feet to, where we observe the water plus. I think that the more appropriate would be to do a slight reduction by 1 foot of the groundwater adjustment. And again, for the reasons I spoke of, we're near a tidal body, not quite the 300 feet, but in the ballpark. And it's on both sides. Sometimes you'll get a gradient coming down towards the water that will actually surge somewhat. Here, it's flattened by being on both sides. So you don't have a big contributory area that could lift that mound. It's leaking out on both sides. So we really wouldn't expect a big mound in this area. So we think that would be a very reasonable request to grant. And then a reduction in the lateral removal of unsuitable materials in some area. It's quite close to the neighbor's land there. We're trying to preserve his driveway nicks across our land a little bit, and we're trying to leave him the room there. And so reducing it down to about 1 foot, but this is a bottom area only, and it's a fairly good sized leaching. So 5 foot to 1 foot is a reduction under 15.555 section 5. And just reading off the plan under the Yarmouth regulations, which are your local regulations. So not the state, which would allow it, but SAS to BVW 100 to 55.1. And again, I would state that, we feel strongly, although the consultant, which was actually hired by another engineer who moved on and passed the project over to us, had called it a BVW. I think that was an abundance of caution, and our older research and looking at it even today, you can see that it's not a BVW, it's more of an IVW.
Excuse me, could you just interpret that for us?
So BVW again is the one I was speaking about, the bordering vegetated wetland or isolated vegetated wetland. So the lesser of the two is the IVW. And for the Churchill's work that we had done before, we looked at it carefully and found that there was no river, stream, lake, or pond that it was bordering on. So in that case, it is a wetland and it's regulatable under your regulations. It's a little over 3,000 square foot. It's probably 10,000 foot, but it's just basically a level, boggy, dries up, but somewhat boggy area that supports wetland vegetation. So the groundwater comes up enough within a foot of the ground generally so that the root systems of the plants are adapted to living in groundwater. If they're more aerated, the bacteria and the things that are synergenic to the plant's growth, the wetland plant won't grow dry, and a dry plant won't grow in the wetland. So that's what the state looks at, the vegetation type. And if you've got a predominantly wetland culture, then it would be a wetland, and is it either a BVW or an IVW? And we feel strongly that with the lesser of the two here. So when Paul looked at it quickly, he just, yeah, BVW, but on further investigation, I'm sure he would have called it and agreed with our initial take that it is an IVW. So
I think if I can just jump in at that one point right there, that
sure.
part of their lawn area goes past the edge of wetland line that you have on the plan in front of you.
Yes.
I think it probably goes down another 30, 40 feet where they're cutting the lawn already. And then it also leads into a blueberry cultivated area of, I don't know, 10-foot high blueberry bushes spaced out 10 feet. There's probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them. So you're not walking into it does get a little soft back there, but it's not a marsh or anything that you're walking into. They're still cutting the lawn, and there's a blueberry cultivation there. I'd say wild blueberry bushes.
Yeah. Anything else now that you have the floor?
Now they have the floor.
No.
I think I kind of wrapped up mine. If you do have anything to add, Bruce, and I would agree. And as part of it, I would say too, that we're going to put some stone markers and stop mowing so you'll have an additional buffer to the more wet areas in the future. But again, it's an IVW. DeFeo and Waite, when they looked at Title V, they said, look, it's much more important to have that vertical separation than it is to have the horizontal separation. Here, we fully meet Title V, even for a BVW, and for an IVW that wouldn't, I don't believe, be regulated, and even under your regulations. So where we could get the benefit of the doubt on that, we would appreciate it. And it would point out that we're pressure dosing as well to keep that full 5 foot of separation very active and useful. So for those reasons, we do feel that it would meet the letter of the law on these variance requests. And Jack and his wife would love to move forward with their little, probably in the fall, do the dormer and this upgrade to the septic system, which, should improve the environment net. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Board members, there's a lot of information.
Do you want me to give just a quick little background?
We always love that.
Background. Yes, that was a great presentation by Dan. We did talk about it a little before, so that was helpful. But they are removing 2 existing cesspools that are probably in the ground. So to a new Title V system, they'll be definitely environmentally better for the environment. Also, the neighbor to the right at the end of the street has submitted an email in your packet in support of this. With their only concern is they didn't want to lose any more of the driveway that they kind of edge across this property paved on right now. So the septic system is 10 feet off the property line. So we're not trying to get any closer, like 5 feet away that we've done at particular times to get further away from wetlands. We didn't think that was needed, so that abutter remained satisfied. And matter of fact, I made a note of that up in the corner of the engineered plan. The sleeping loft that's been there for a period of time, I think we can show that. I think that's just been there for a period of time. When they bought the house, they were saying that was there. It's been finished. It hadn't been picked up by assessors, but it doesn't meet the ceiling height requirement. You can see it goes up to an attic that's pitched pretty well and doesn't have a 5 foot over the beds. So it's been there their whole time that they've used that. And I think what we're doing now is they have 2 bedrooms downstairs, and by putting the dormer out on this, that makes that a habitable room. So, the house is technically going, because we don't have any, engineered plans back from the 40s there, 50s. This is a good step going forward environmentally, taking out 2 cesspools and allowing a dormer to be put on the backside here.
I don't know which way the board's going to vote on this, but you mentioned the fall, and as often we vote and grant 90 days for variances. So what is your thought on that?
Yeah, I guess if we could have, you do like to do the septic after the heavy, lulls and stuff are done driving around the house. So if we could have a year, I guess we'd appreciate it if the board moves in that direction.
You're looking for similar to the last variance of July 1st, 2023?
Yeah. We'd be happy to live with that, and we'll come back and revisit, or, with luck, I mean, I know everybody's busy these days, but if we get it done sooner, I'm sure there's no penalty for that. But if we have to come back, we'll certainly come before the board and ask for a brief extension.
And I think a couple other things, board members, is we're also seeing the delay in the building industry getting materials. And that's really stressed some projects, delayed some projects. But I think in general, you're hoping for a next fall, next spring project?
In the fall, we hope to start.
Okay, okay. So that July 1st would probably be a reasonable date to consider, board.
Board members, if we don't have any other questions or comments, perhaps someone can make a motion here on these variances for the property.
I just have a question. This was initially referred to as a repair. Is that correct? A repair to the existing system?
Speak up a little bit.
This was initially referred to as a repair, I believe. Am I mistaken?
So I could address?
Yeah, sure.
So sure, under Title V, you're generally looking at two. So yeah, yes, absolutely. And I would say that it is a repair in that Title V, either it's new construction or an upgrade. It has to be upgraded either way, but it's just a technical term. But I would think that this would qualify, being that it predated the 95 code, the bedroom. I think we could say that is a straight repair. As the state-of-the-art term would be, an upgrade plan that would be inaccurate. Would not be an increase in flow, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, if you want to make a motion.
Yeah.
I move that we grant the 5 variances to Title V and the 2 variances to the Town of Yarmouth regulations as stated to the property at 22 Willow Lane, South Yarmouth, and that construction be started by July 2023.
Thank you, Mary. Second to that?
Second.
Great, thanks. All right, any other discussion? See if there's none. Let's vote on this. Charlie? Voting for?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Eric?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye, so I vote pro, okay?
Really appreciate it.
Okay, good luck with it all.
Thank you.
Okay, 5th item. This is a discussion. Bruce, how's the correct way to pronounce the restaurant? What's that? Yeah? Okay, someone, there are people from the restaurant here? Oh, great. We can just put a hold on things, okay?
Okay.
Director Murphy, just want to introduce the issue here for us.
Yes. El Marachi?
Yes.
Restaurant on Route 28. We were notified, you have a timeline before you. The health department was notified March 15th by the police department of a investigation they were doing on liquor license, possible violations. At that time, we were called to the restaurant by the police department concerned on possible food violations and uncleanliness. I did go out there myself on the 15th, which was a Tuesday. Went through the restaurant and noticed quite a few, matter of fact, food violations, mainly cleanliness. You do have the inspection reports from you from this timeline. At that time, I told the owner manager here that they needed to be cleaned, and an agreement was to close for 3 days for general cleaning. So, which they voluntarily did and did their cleaning. Went back on Friday, and there was still considerable areas that needed to be cleaned. As going back, there was also inspectors from building and fire department there as called in by the police department. After going through it again on the Friday, the 18th, myself and still seeing numerous health violations that still need to be corrected. Again, it was continuing to stay closed over that weekend for continued cleaning and steam cleaning. And we went back on Monday. So that would have been a third inspection. And at that time, it had been cleaned and we allowed it to be reopened. As we back up a little bit, the health department was there in December 13th of 21 for a regular inspection. And at that time, the restaurant wasn't on a very clean standards and was graded out as a C on the town food grading of A, B, or C. A follow-up inspection was done on February 14th. Again, a lot of the same violations and food issues were found again and graded out at C, until a reinspection again on March 8th was really a site visit where our food inspector, Phil Renaud, talked to the owner about general cleaning. So it's been a consistent issue of keeping the restaurant clean over several months. On one of the conditions that we had talked about when I was out there in March 18th was they submit a cleaning program so that we would know what was supposed to be clean every day of the week, which you have a written out copy of in your packet of what's supposed to be being cleaned. We also have a copy of the Serve Safe person, Angel Rivera, that's supposed to be watching what's going on and make sure things are being cleaned, which they hadn't been. An inspection from Friday, which is I think was in the packet on the 28th, still showed numerous cleaning that needed to be done. Since then, a follow-up today, there was still a lot of the same repeat violations and cleanliness that needed to be corrected, which is, I know the health food inspector was a little upset because he had talked to and met with him on Thursday what needed to be done. As part of that inspection, Eric, I don't know if we can call up what would go back to the first slide right there. The restaurant from the outside, and then these are the slides that pictures that we took from then. If you can just walk through the next slide, is the top left is the can opener that needed to be cleaned. The right one is just a push cart that needed to be cleaned at the bottom. You've got pans on the stove that needed a cleaning. I know these pictures are dark, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the next slide will show the walk-in cooler where you have things on the floor. Top right is the wall and the cooler that's need to be cleaned. And then the bottom two slides show uncovered items. One on the right is fish that needed to be covered and dated in the cooler that wasn't done. The next slide will show the exit side, the fan going out of the kitchen that had considerable grease buildup on it. The hood system on the right was missing some of the filters, so the grease was going straight up, and they were missing the filters, which was also a violation as noted by the fire department. The bottom left is just general cleaning that is needed behind the service line that was noted last Thursday and again today in the inspection reports. And then the bottom right is just general cleaning in the kitchen area. We go to the next slide, which is in the bar area. One is the top right. That's a fly strip that needed to be not taken. It was just hung up over the salt there when they made the margaritas. So that needed to be not in that area. The next is the bar cooler there that had mold in the bottom. That since I believe has been removed. That's been taken out as part of that cleaning over that period of time. But we do have the area down the bottom where the dishwasher is that needed to be cleaned, and that still need to be cleaned a little bit also. The next slide just shows clean glasses right next to the mop sink that could be concerned if there's any splash going around at that area. And then the bottom two just show the bottom exit blocked from storage from their outdoor items, chairs and so forth that they had for their outdoor service to go or to eat in or out last year. The last group of slides show the outdoor area that needed to be clean. Show the dumpster there was closed, but then to the right that you show the buckets and area that needed to be cleaned in both areas. And it's hard to see the bottom right. The screen needed to repair. So it needs a lot of cleaning. It needs to be maintained as being cleaning, which we hadn't been seeing done. And it raised to the level of bringing this to the board's attention after several reminders and inspections. They just have not kept a cleaning schedule.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. So looks like we have some people from the Mariachi Restaurant. Just introduce yourselves for the record, and we need to know what's going on for 4 months of violations.
My name is Emilio Blanco. I'm one of the managers of the restaurant, and I'm the one that was involved in all the situation. Just to I don't know if he works or not. We not barely, but not so soon we took over the restaurant from the past management. So we since that incident, we've been working with Phil up and down to get as much clean. Like Bruce said, we closed for the 5 days. Came back and reopened. Right now, we got new stuff, so we're training them so we can get this thing going. Today, I talked to Phil on the inspection. When he got there, today is Monday, and that's our delivery dates. So we had a big truck getting ready for the weekend, and we had a lot of stuff still on the floor. Everybody trying to put everything on the cooler where it goes, and everything. We discussed about the cleaning schedule, and I have it right here. We discussed that. I have the pages right here. We're gonna start on the schedule. This is David Lopez, the other manager, owner. We're gonna be the ones in charge to check on the kitchen wherever the schedule says that they need to be clean, and until we sign it, we say it's fine. Like we have to be now following the schedule procedures and make sure we sign. If I'm not there, he's there, and just stay on top of it.
You want to go over the cleaning schedule that we're showing up there, what you're going to be doing this is what you're proposing?
Yes. So I have right here, normally you will say probably Monday, the slowest day of the week. And that day you can use it like for general cleaning. But like I said, for us, those are the days that we get the delivery trucks. And since our schedule, we open at 1 o'clock it's later. So we decided to do it on Sundays because the hours over here and with us, you know, it's a slower day. It's busy when it's early. So we decided to do like the deep clean on Sunday. And the schedule, we have it, I put it on the 7 days. I put the cooks on the side. So we decided who's gonna do what. These past weeks since we reopened, I talked to Phil and I told him that I was letting the cooks do it. So they even signing on the paper, but we decided, you know, that David and I were gonna be signing what their duties are and the basic stuff. Mondays, you know, we're gonna start switching, cleaning filters. One's gonna clean the coal line. Every day has to be swept and mopped, upstairs, downstairs. Tuesday, we'll be cleaning the oven, the stove, the hot line, and the walk-in cooler. And like I said, at night, every day has to be swept and clean. Wednesdays, that'll be when the deep fryer is gonna get washed, the grill, and all the kitchen walls, they have to be clean, washed. On Thursdays, we have another small cooler where we keep stuff and wash all the floors again. You know, on Fridays, the dishwasher is gonna have to clean all his area, all his walls, all around it, and he's the one that's gonna clean all the fridge too. We have 3 fridge altogether. And Saturday, it's our most busiest day, we can say, of the week. So basically that day, I put the dishwasher cook to go on the basement, try to get it sorted out. And on Sunday, you know, like I said, we're gonna put pressure, you know, deep clean the whole restaurant. You know, we already on the outside, already got a new trash can. Like they changed it because it was kind of dirty. So
How often are they emptying the dumpster? Because it was full today.
it was, yes. They on the winter, we do it every 2 weeks. Now it starts getting busy. We do it every Thursday. I talked to Cabosa already. So I'll pay for this one to get empty tomorrow.
And you go to, as business picks up, to twice a week then? Because right now, we shouldn't have to tell you when to empty it, but
No, I know.
you probably need to start going to twice a week possibly as business picks up.
Yes. Like I said, yeah, we had it still under 2 weeks every other week. So we're Cabosa's coming to clean it up again, and because we're getting more and more product, it's gonna get more busy. So
Okay.
Yeah. And
on this schedule here, I know we went over this a couple weeks ago, and it doesn't look like it's being followed from when Phil was out there on Thursday to now Monday. It
yes,
doesn't look like
that's what we talked today, because I show him the book where we're following, and you know, we got to a decision. I told him that I am gonna sign the paper, or David's gonna sign the paper to follow up. We're gonna have another after we get out of here, and when we close the restaurant, we need to have another meeting with the kitchen stuff and even the servers. So
And how about your serve safe person? How often is he there on site?
he lives in Taunton.
Angel, right? Rivera.
Yeah, Angel. He lives in Taunton, so his schedule, he comes from 5 to close sometime. David and I we're doing it too. So I'm the one that lives here in the Cape. I live in Brewster. So I'll get it done. David's in the process of doing it too.
Going to get your own serve safe.
Like I said, yeah, I did the one too for the CPR. Already went, so I have another one. So
So how often does Angel go to the property now? Twice a week?
on the weekends.
Weekends.
The weekends, yes, the weekends. Yeah. Because he works more over there in the Taunton store.
Anything else?
like I said, like we're gonna get there, have the people do it. Me, myself, like I said, I'm the one that lives here, so I'll be pushing it. I'll be here every single day, and now that the summer's coming, it gets busier, we need to get more people too, because we keep a really small crew for the winter, even though we are one of the few restaurants that we stay open the whole year round. So right now, we're probably gonna get new people for the summer. So as soon as they get, let them know what we need to get done, and have it, do the best, have it clean. Be following up with Bruce, with the health department, and
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions, comments?
You mentioned that you had just recently taken over the restaurant. How long have you been in charge?
In charge, I only been probably I've been here in the restaurant for 3 years, but I was a bartender and a server. So now things change a little bit. So I'll say probably, I don't know, almost a year. But,
And you are,
but not how can I explain it? We're still in the process too of even on to put me as a manager, like official manager too, for the liquor and for all the stuff. So, but like I said, I'm the one that's here right now, and I'm the one that's gonna take over, and I'll do my best to have this running.
and you said you're going to do the Serve Safe certification, and David was also?
Yes. Yes.
Because it's my understanding that Serve Safe certification person should be there much more frequently than just the weekends. Isn't that correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Oh, come on. You were gonna make a comment.
Interrupted 4 times, ain't gonna try again.
It's sort of a race. It's hard when people are on the screen.
Okay.
What did you say, Charlie? I didn't catch that.
Someone else?
I'd just like to make a suggestion, in terms of the cleaning responsibilities. I've just found that with employees, checklists can be really, really helpful, you guys can obviously come up with a list of all of the responsibilities, all the cleaning that needs to be done and how often it needs to be done. And kind of go from there, and that way when somebody's at their shift, they know in order to get you to sign off, they can just go down the checklist. It's Tuesday, I gotta clean the fryer, I gotta mop the floor under the fryer, and I gotta label the whatever. You guys know the responsibilities better than we do, but I think a series of checklists could prove to be really, really helpful with that.
Yes.
So I have a couple things. As somebody who's worked in restaurants for many, many, many years, a lot of this, checklists are great, but if you're working in a busy restaurant, it really falls to the bartender to make sure the bar is clean, the dishwasher to make sure the dish is clean, the cooks, the chef to make sure the walk-in is labeled and there isn't open containers. And having a Serve Safe certificate is great. I have one. And they're good for, I believe, 3 or 4 years, but it's not something that you maintain in your brain all the time. So I feel like checklists are great, and this gentleman was a bartender, so he knows what the bar is supposed to look like. Even the dish, having glasses near the slop sink, I can barely even, I can't even look at it. And that walk-in is dreadful. So these are from March. When is the last time the walk-in was checked, Bruce?
It was inspected today, and there was still some things on the floor.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been going on since December. I have no words. This is a foodborne illness disaster waiting to happen.
Like I said today to Bruce, to Phil, you know, we it's you know, it's gonna be a busy weekend for Mother's Day, and like I said, we got a big truck, and if you can see the walking, we have a really small walking, and you know, he even told me, you know, like you guys, because we do that and we do the beer kegs in there too, you know, so it's we try to stack everything up, and it's a really small walking, and only downstairs we have another freezer, a fridge, but
Yeah.
that's all we got, you know, like I understand, but like I said, you know, we're
So the kegs are in the walk-in too?
yes, we don't have there's no other.
Sounds like you need an outdoor walk-in.
That's what we talk about that too with the.
Yeah, I think that would alleviate some of your walking problems.
I'll say even, you know, I mentioned even that one with the freezer in it too, a bigger one. But like I said, it's been talked, but we can go from there too, you know.
Yeah, and that's nightly cleaning too. So what time do you guys close?
Close at 9 o'clock on the weekdays and 10 on the weekends.
And how much longer after? I mean, I'm sure you guys are tired and want to get out of there, but how long after do you stay to clean?
It depends. I'll say hour and a half. It's what I have.
Because you have Thursday wash all floors, but every night you should be washing your floors.
No. I mean, what I said, washing the floor is like, you know, get the hose and run it over, but
Right.
Get swept and mopped. Yes.
Do you pull the bar mats up every night? The floor mats? Take them outside, bleach them, wash them?
To be honest, the people that on the bar, yes, we do. On the kitchen, they don't. We had a problem with the cooks tripping out.
Yeah.
So, but on the bar, yes, we have 2 red ones and they go in and out. And even there, Bruce was there. You know, we sealed the thing that looked like on the floor on the bar. We sealed everything because it was like a ground thing, and it was dirty, but we sealed it. It was just like gravel and cement that was down there. That was how the bar was built.
I know it's tough. Like I said, I've worked in restaurants for many years, but it's
I totally
one of those things, you let it go a couple days and it's hard to catch up.
Yes, I know. So like I said, we start getting top of it. I'm the one that's gonna be on top of it and make sure this is clean. Next time that Phil the Bruce is stopped there, you know, it has to be like he told me that before the Monday we open, he has to be ready for the white glove. So I mean, that's all I have to say. Hope that, you know.
Bruce, I have a question. The schedule that the folks have submitted, does that cover all of the areas that Phil found to be non-compliant?
I would say it probably should be more detailed because it should include making sure things are each night are covered and labeled in the walk-in. You probably want to make sure that's been done. Checking all temperatures, refrigeration temperatures, checking them. That should be a daily thing that would be checked off. So I think this could be a little bit more work that should be done on that checklist.
Okay, I can add that.
Let me jump in with a suggestion.
Yeah, and just about the list, there's got to be something online just to get a good checklist that looks official.
There
that
are.
works. It's
There are
gotta
things
be.
online. There are companies that can assist.
Right.
I missed, what was your role, Dave? You are the.
Me, I'm one of the owners managers. I'm more of a seasonal. I don't live in the Cape, so off season I help at the other restaurants off the Cape, and more during season. I'm here more full time.
So would you be also looking at the cleaning schedule beside,
Yeah,
both of you would be looking?
Now as the season is coming along, I'll be out here more often, basically full time, and that's why I'm working on mine. Just expired recently because I had one prior, and so I'm renewing it currently. So.
I have another question. So is this a chain? There are other restaurants? Is it a franchise? What's the situation?
Yeah, it's a chain. It's a family owned company. There's 5 other restaurants. So
just one on the Cape?
Yeah, just one on the Cape. And then Wareham's the nearest to the Cape, but.
Okay.
There are 140 food service permits in town here with a very small health department to inspect them. And to be making this number of inspections is awful. And I wish I'm feeling more optimistic about what's going to take place right now.
Oh, I get it. We get it. And those photos, those are the ones from the initial from March, right?
Correct.
So since then, that's not what the restaurant looks like at all. I feel like that's a pretty bad representation of what you're showing those, but that's not what it looks like right now. And to say we have stuff on the floor and the walk-in, that's just mostly the kegs, because that's where our kegs go. So the stuff on the floor are the kegs, not actual food sitting on the floor in the walk-in like that. But yeah, like those pictures from March, we took care of that. It doesn't look like that at all anymore. And it's just.
Director Murphy, we need some help here. Obviously, the record is not good, and these gentlemen need some help.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things we can ask them to start
Well,
with?
in the food code that I'm showing here that you have in your packet, the health department follows the state food service code, obviously, and within that code there is a section on food safety training, and my recommendation. From talking to Phil and going over this and being there myself is I think there needs to be further food safety training, just not for the management, but for the whole staff. And I think that needs to be done by a professional consultant, food safety consultant. This section in the food code allows the Board of Health to issue an order saying that food safety training is needed for the whole staff. And I'd recommend that be issued that within the next 30 days they contract a food consultant that will provide a food safety training for the whole staff. They'll probably have to set aside a day or something or a half a day. And then also that food consultant would do their own inspections at a period of time for the next 6 months. And that we would review their food consultant contract prior to them going forward to make sure that we feel that's adequate training and inspections. And that consultant would also work with them on their developing a cleaning list.
You understand what Director Murphy is saying?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, we're.
So board members, what do you want to do here?
Is the Bruce? You mentioned Phil was back out there today. Are they in the appropriate shape to be open and currently serving food right now?
What we found, what Phil found basically last week and today was basically general cleanliness that needed to be done. There was no major at this time violations of time temperature, such as the refrigeration was working correctly, refrigerators were working correctly, and dishwasher was correcting. So it was general cleanliness that's not being followed on a regular schedule.
Okay.
But that's really important.
Absolutely. There's no reason anything should fall this far behind. And the pictures were a snapshot of basically what the food inspector had been seeing since December through March when I went in there for the inspection and photos taken.
In addition, it's going to be a challenge because of number of employees that are available on the Cape. Everyone's hiring. So this
That's-
is going to make
yeah.
it even more difficult
I know.
if you don't have enough people or there's a lot of turnover with new people showing up. This is going to be a challenge.
Well, we're willing to take it. You know, like I said, we got in those 30 days, people I have, I'll hire that person to come and train us. We take the training and we go from there.
Do we need to issue an order here for this? Or not?
I would say that I'm going to forward a letter to the restaurant, so it should be issued in order based on tonight's presentation and information provided by the board and the applicant that the board hereby orders food safety training for the staff and an inspection over the next 6 months.
Okay, I'll take a look.
And should that be all staff or management staff, Bruce? How is that typically?
All staff. And I know it's going to change because you got people coming and going, but I think as they do start doing the training over the next 30 days, the staff that's there, and then as new staff comes on, that might be a recommendation that they have to add some more people for training. They might have to come back a couple times. It could be on, like you say, your Monday's your slow day, could be training day and cleaning day. That, there's probably a couple ways to go, but I think we would start with that.
Okay. Deborah, thank you for all the information. Okay. All right.
Do you want to make that in order, Board of Health motion?
Yeah, we have to vote for you to send the order.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion.
I'll move that the board require El Mariachi to complete food safety training for all employees. And what were we saying? 30 days, Bruce?
In 30 days, right.
And
Quick
then-
question before I second that. So Bruce, you had recommended that they have a consultant come. So typically what happens is when you do a day of serve safe training, somebody comes in, they do like a PowerPoint presentation, and then you take an online test. It's a 1-day thing. Bruce is proposing that they hire a consultant that stays on for 6 months. Is that what you're saying, Bruce?
Correct.
Right. So not just 1 day of safety training, everyone gets a serve safe certificate and we move on. That they contract an actual consultant for a 6-month period. And there's somebody that's actually going to look at these issues.
Correct. We're not asking everybody to come in to get serve safe training. We're just telling them to put on a program. I mean, they're going through their own serve safe training. This would be just general cleanliness training. They're not they're not certifying every worker there, but they're going to put a training program together.
Right. But you're suggesting that a consultant come in, right? I just want to make sure we're
Correct.
clear on that.
Absolutely. Correct.
Okay.
And they're available in Massachusetts under food consultants.
And they'll do inspections.
They'll do inspections and they'll develop a cleaning schedule.
That'll get sent to us.
Yes, we'll look at that prior to them going forward to make sure we agree with the number of hours and cleaning schedule that they're going to put on.
Awesome. Then I second that motion.
Okay, is the motion okay, the way it's worded?
I think we have the pretty much drift of that. I wrote it down to Erica. So if I just want to read it back, that I think we started with who made the first part of the motion?
Eric.
So it was to Board of Health to order food safety training within 30 days and the contractor to be on board for a 6 months period for inspections, training, and develop a cleaning checklist.
Okay.
I believe that's what I heard, Eric.
Well, that was a little more in depth than what I said, but I like yours better, Bruce.
No, I think it was the same. Anyway.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Deborah seconded. Any other discussion? Let's vote here. Charlie. What? We're voting on a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to say aye or nay or.
Aye.
Okay, so that's a yes, everyone. Okay. Eric,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
I'm aye. Okay, so Bruce, let me know how we're doing on the order, okay? And we'll move forward, okay? Yeah, you got a lot of work to do, all right? Stay with it,
Thank you very much.
okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. This is number 6. This is a discussion on tobacco regulation, and specifically the tobacco cap. And the discussion is kind of based upon one of our recent meetings, and was dealing with a late license application, I believe. So just to talk about how we're doing with the permit and what we should do or not do now and in the future. Just what we have. It's, it's a fairly new idea and a regulation for us. So anybody have any thoughts about how we're handling it?
Do you want me to give a little background?
Sure.
The what you have in the packets up on the screen, but you also have the section of the regulation tobacco product permit cap that all existing retail stores that had tobacco are allowed to maintain their tobacco. Yeah, the regulation right there. Anybody that fails to renew their annual license at the end of the year will be considered expired. They have 30 days after the end of the year to renew their license, or it's expired, and then they lose their tobacco license. That goes on to the next sheet. That has the application that we send out through the office in probably November to remind people they have to get their license and applications into us. And on that application, on the next slide, I think, yep, the back slide, there is a particular tobacco product cap, permit cap mentioned that says they must renew if they're going to, or they'll lose their license. So that is on the license right above their signature. So everybody retail person would know about it, or their bookkeeper, whoever's filling this out and pay, would know that there was something there. I think at the last meeting when we had that applicant come in, we missed a little oversight within the office of bringing this to the attention that it was already signed on their application. In the past, the board had received a variance request from 2 other businesses to have their tobacco cap license reapplied for when they were late early in the process, and the board did grant that variance. And I think we were looking at that, thinking of that variance at that time before further discussion within the office that we noticed that was on the application. So I think the board has the procedures set in place. We just have to make sure that the full office is looking at it.
I think that it seems to me there seems to be an issue with our letting this last applicant go ahead and renew the license. Frankly, I just feel like we have to have some flexibility. I believe in regulations and in holding people to them, but I do not feel any regret about having let this last applicant go ahead and renew the licenses, because I do believe certainly the woman who is in charge of the business aspects knew, but it just was a slip up, a mistake, an error. I also have a question about how people are notified it seems like a letter goes out from the health department reminding them. Is that how it happens, or exactly what happens when it's renewal time?
All businesses that receive a license from us, whether it's motels, lodging, food establishments, and retail stores, including tobacco, receive an application probably around the 1st of November. And then it's stated that, by December 18th, they should return it with an application and paid application and fee. What we do is, as they come in, and as you can imagine, there's hundreds of them coming in, and come December, a food inspector will look at, in particular, what retail stores that have a tobacco license have not resubmit. And we've usually been proactive in working with the business community, and we've called a couple stores as a reminder that you haven't got it in. As we did in this one, we made a call. Sometimes it's an email. This was a call, and I think this bookkeeper did mention she was having trouble with her phones, and that she did get the call and then tried to call us back. So she was aware of it. So we do reach out to people to make sure that they have their application into us. And before they're open, we try to make sure that application is into us, which is difficult because I know we've talked with the board about a year ago on this, and we talked that several towns have a Board of Health regulation that if you're late, you have to pay double fee. And that's something that we took under advisement before with the board. And I said, I'd look into it. And I said, we'll still dust that off and look at that again, because some towns have that. If you're late, unfortunately, you have to pay twice. You have to pay double. So that will be something we're looking at.
I'd be fine with supporting that.
How much is it?
Right now, the tobacco license is $110, and the retail license is usually about $100. Depends
That's
on
not
the store, depends on the store size. So that's just the update. I can keep the board more updated on that as we go.
Any other thoughts? I mean, we have regulations, we try to follow them. It's difficult to make judgments on cases. It's very difficult. By history, that's at least how I have found it.
I'm surprised by how many instances we've had, honestly. It makes me wonder if every tobacco sales permit holder is aware of the reducing cap.
Well, we've only had, what, 3?
Well, yeah, but it's obviously a really, really important, for some of these folks with convenience stores, they claim it makes up
Right.
like 40% of their sales revenue or something,
Right. Yep.
I mean, I agree with Mary that there needs to be some flexibility. I mean, I feel that the woman who manages the process of the permits, that's not going to happen again. She's got a whole Excel sheet going. And I think the reason why there's a board is people to come before us and us make determinations so that it's not just black and white, that we're able to sort of make judgment calls. That's why we're here.
I'm not sure the system's working in the sense people have said they didn't get a call, they had trouble with their phone, or they don't check their emails, or I never got that letter, I have a different address. So it's a difficult call. That's all.
But I think that it's up to them. Like Eric said, that the tobacco revenue is a big part of their income. And I think it's up to them to make sure they have that license and any license that they need to operate. I think the fact that the Board of Health sends a letter reminding them and then a follow-up email or call, I think that's enough. I don't know if.
Well, I don't think we should do more. I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, I didn't renew my registration in February. I totally slipped my mind. And I was driving around with a expired registration, and until I had to renew my husband's, I didn't even realize it. So, it's
can
right
hap-
there on my license plate, but I didn't get it. So stuff happens.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the department should be doing more. The burden is on the store owners for sure. This is their livelihood.
I think it becomes problematic when, everybody who appears before this board in some sense probably feels as though they have extenuating circumstances that are placing them before the board. And, I understand that maybe it's our responsibility to listen to them and make a determination based on the case they plead, but I have concerns about that, somewhat fearful of litigation and, I just think I think it's a difficult line to toe, when that license I suppose we're not revoking the license, it's lapsing on its own, but when we reinstate one, I think it's tricky business, I think we have to be careful. I think we have to be aware of who might be listening and watching, and maybe they weren't so fortunate when they had a similar situation.
Yeah, selling products illegally, selling tobacco during that period of time. I'm not sure by doubling the fee of an extra $100 is going to make that much difference. I mean, I would hope it would, but I'm not sure it will.
I think the message has been out to the tobacco people the last couple of years. They know the importance of submitting their application on time, the required time. This particular case, the person did have their tobacco license suspended for a month, 4 weeks by 30 days by the board. So the message has been out there in the community. When you talk to a few of the retail stores, they know the importance of submitting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not complicated. You put it in your calendar and it should pop up 3 weeks before the deadline. Okay, anything else, anyone? This is on for discussion.
Good.
Okay, let's move on then. Number 7 is an update on the coronavirus. Director Murphy, any comments, updates?
Yes, we are seeing a uptick in cases as reported through the state laboratory to us. We've seen it gone up the last couple of weeks, as a matter of fact. And I think that's a concern because there's a lot of underreporting going on because most everybody has home test kits now. And, but people are still going to their hospital or pharmacies to get tested. But I think that overall there probably is a underreporting. As of April 28th last week, that we had 28 active cases. That's been higher than we've had in a while. So we've been following 28 town-wide. Okay. We can see the number of cases in November, December, January, peaked in January, went down in February. March, it started to creep up again. I think we're going to start to see it creep up a little bit more towards March and then April also. This was just case tracking every 500. I don't think we're getting close to the next 500, but you can just see, even people that have been vaccinated and boosted and fully boosted have been coming down with symptoms a lot of times a lot milder, but it depends on the variant that's out there now. We're seeing the B2 variant that they say is spreading quicker than the Omicron, but maybe not as serious at this time. But obviously people that have underlying conditions or people at home with underlying conditions need to take a concern. Okay. We can see just the trend when we did have the Omicron, what we called the fifth wave, where we had 272 active cases at one time within town. And then we can see how drastically that dropped off within a month time after a buildup of the Delta variant Omicron, and then it's dropped right off. But we are starting to see a little uptick in the far right. Cape positivity rate, again, based on last Wednesday when this came out, the town of Yarmouth, we went up to 6.4. We had been at just over 5 from the week before, and that was from over 4 so the last 3 weeks we've seen an increase, as most of the towns have noted up on here have seen a higher note. So, it's spreading on the Cape more. You also see an increase on the county positivity rate at 6.15, and the state rate has also increased also. Fully vaccinated, still kind of leveled off. We're up to 79%. We were at 77, 78%. So we're starting to see a little increase on that. We're still encouraging people to be boosted. Good. Health, you can still get vaccinations through the county health department. They're doing them, I believe, Tuesdays or Wednesdays. You can call for an appointment down there. They're pretty much open all that day. So just call for an appointment, or they also take walk-ins. Best to call first to confirm the day. And they are offering all the vaccines, whether it's a booster or regular shots of Pfizer, Moderna, are available. Cape Cod Healthcare at the hospital is still providing vaccinations Monday through Saturday. You can call them for an appointment also. Stop and Shops at Long Pond and Walgreens and our pharmacies are also providing vaccinations. For testing, Cape Cod Hospital and the Cape Cod Healthcare testing sites around the Cape are available also. Test kits are available. I know some are still getting them at the post office. They've been delivered, so you can still call and get them that way. And they're also available test kits through the town. Town's purchased over 4,600 test kits and are distributing them at Town Hall and also at the senior center. So they first ask for some background on income, because that's the first group that's gone out, and I think we've hit a lot of that lower moderate incomes out there, but we're still asking. They're available for seniors. Anybody that might feel a need, a test kit would be provided. So come down to Town Hall or go right up to the senior center. Again, at Town Hall, it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. We still have supplies, and same with that. The senior center, you can go right up there also. They still have kits available. That covers us, and you can see the total slide of where we've been sitting with the coronavirus, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well done as usual.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Do you want to mention anything more about the new variant coming in, the B2? It's still available. We have not heard the testing, how often the state is testing the strain, or how frequent it is right now.
Yeah, it seems to be more contagious, and I think the majority of the cases in the country are the BA2 variant. People who are vaccinated do better.
Bruce, how many cases did Yarmouth have in April?
I don't think we had that. Did we have that, Erica?
No, it's not on the slide. That's why I'm asking.
I don't think we didn't have it. Was
We haven't done it yet.
So we didn't have the total number.
Is it less than 1,000?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. yeah.
Okay, good. So it's not as bad as January.
It's probably closer to, it's under 200 for the month. Might even be under 150.
Okay, everyone, it's all right if we move on. Next item would be the approval of the minutes from April 4th, 2022, which was quite a document and a lot of work. Well done. A lot of work.
Erica worked very hard on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sure everyone had looked at it. Any comments about the minutes?
I was looking at it and I thought that there was a nay vote from me that I think it was actually a yes vote on the last item with the tobacco. Unless my memory's failing me.
What page are we on?
What's that?
What page are we looking at?
Oh, gosh.
Okay. And okay, on that vote then, you said you voted for?
I thought I remembered voting for. I don't know if anyone else has a memory better than mine.
Not likely.
I don't remember. We'd have to go to the tape.
Well, then I don't know if it's really worth.
It won't change what happened ultimately.
No,
but,
it won't change the outcome. So
certainly you can come in and look at the videotape if you'd like.
I could probably find it online.
It's online. You can just fast forward. It's pretty
Well,
far.
since it won't change the outcome. I'll move that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All right, let's vote on it. Mary,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
okay, Eric.
Aye.
Aye, it's another one. Me as well, aye. Okay, so minutes passed. Was it Deborah? Did you second it?
I did. Mary.
Okay. And new or old business, number 9. Anyone?
Yes, I have some old business relative to the public comment at the last meeting by Tom Nicanello. I did tune into the Board of Selectmen meeting. Lori Ruslo did an excellent job presenting kind of the where the water department is at in many different aspects. So I don't know if anyone else got to listen in on it, but it was very informative. And I appreciate Tom's pointing that out because I did listen to it.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? When should we have our next meeting, folks?
Want to go two weeks to the 16th?
Fine. Okay, next meeting then, May 16th. Fine. Anyone want to go home? Someone needs to make a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second, someone?
Second.
Okay, Deborah, thank you. Yeah, no, Mary, you lost that one.
I beat you, Mary.
Okay, we're going to vote for Charlie. You want to leave? Yeah. That's an aye. Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Aye, as well. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for
Good night.
staying as long.
Good night.
Good night.